and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Don't fall asleep on me. Give me your attention. Final stretch.
I should be ready.
Because we're near the end, I'm going to do this a little bit differently. We don't have to save the questions till the very end, although you are welcome to. But I'm going to try to do more to ask you stuff and then want you to participate. So when I ask you a question, I want you to respond, please. So I want you to look at this planet here. So imagine, I don't know, we live somewhere over here, although I think this is Saudi Arabia, maybe this is India, I don't know. So we're on the other side. That's the picture I found. It's a huge planet. I mean, it can host billions of people, ginormous animals, size of a double school bus, thousands and thousands of miles. It's massive. But, and there's even also 3 other planets that are smaller than us. Mercury, Mars, and Venus. I should put it backwards. That's Venus, that's Mars, that's Mercury.
No, Mars is
Anyway.
Mercury, Venus, Mars. Mars in the closed system.
Okay, مش مشكلة.
Sorry.
Can we move on? Thank you. Thank you. So it's a huge planet, do you agree? The thing I found out is that even though this is a huge, huge planet, it's really not that big. Because if you look at here, yeah, there's Earth. Hopefully it's in the right order. Then Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter. If you look at Earth compared to Jupiter, it's like a marble compared to a basketball, maybe. It's massive.
Where's Earth?
I think it's
That's
the order of size.
خلاص. Okay, I regret asking you to participate, and I withdraw my offer. Only respond when I ask you something. هنروح كده. That's Earth right there. It's okay. Yeah, I'm glad you asked because I don't want to lose you. That's Earth right there, and remember how big it was or is. Okay, and this is how huge Jupiter is. You live somewhere there. Okay, Jupiter's massive. I kind of like how it looks too. When you look at Jupiter too, it's actually not that big. That's Jupiter now right there. Remember the Jupiter we looked at? That's Jupiter. And I don't know what Wolf 359 is, maybe something new. And then the sun. We're familiar with the sun. Remember how Earth looked compared to Jupiter? Maybe the size of that red dot. Huge star. Life is based on this star. God made this for us. He even calls himself the sun. But when you think about it, the sun itself is not that big. This is serious. Are you serious? Yes, I'm serious. This is serious. You know the satellite radio? They named it after this. Sirius. That's how it's pronounced, right? It dwarfs the sun. You can't even see the Earth anymore. Some speck, a pixel. Huge. But guess what? You get in the picture? Sirius is seriously small compared to Pollux and Arcturus. I'm sure any second grader knows those, but I've never heard of them. Let's do the selfies later, please. Which is being done with the phone, which we got to put away. All right. Look at this guy, Aldebaran.
Well,
I can't wrap my mind around how huge that is. I lost track, but guess what? That guy's tiny too. أبونا يعني هنروح النهارده ولا you're gonna cover all the whole universe or whatever? Regal, Antares, etc., etc., etc. And then there's Beetlejuice. Probably heard the movie, but that's what it's named after. And I'm gonna stop here. No, I'm not. Next to Beetlejuice, there's, I'm not going to pronounce those, Musefi, Vivi, Sefi A, VY, they ran out of names. Now they're calling them all kinds of stuff. Let me now zoom out and let you go back and see how that is. Remember the Earth? And it was like a dot compared to Jupiter, and Jupiter compared to Sirius, and Sirius compared to Aldebaran, Aldebaran compared to Betelgeuse, Betelgeuse compared to this Majoris guy. And this is just as far as we got because we don't have the technology. Seems they get bigger as we go farther. And you live somewhere. I guess that's the smallest Earth we can see right now. Somewhere on there. You're not even a pixel on that planet. And yet God allows you to stand before Him, to be in His presence, to address Him. I'm a very simple guy. If you know me, the guys at my church know that. I'm not very scholarly, but sometimes, this is going to sound silly, but sometimes when I stand to pray, don't laugh at me, but you know the icons of God on the throne, the Pantocrator. I imagine a little tiny dot of His little toe nail, and how much bigger it is than this Majoris guy over there, and like I'm standing right here. And all you can do is just hit the floor. So, the topic of our talk tonight, and this is really just wrapping things up, is the end goal of holiness. What is the end goal of holiness? Does anybody remember our main verse for this conference? Or the address of the verse? Should I mention that in every lecture? Huh? The book of the verse?
Yes.
You have it right there on your book. Hebrews 12:14. Pursue. There's a lot of stuff we pursue. And we know what pursue means very well. Pursue peace with all people and the holiness without which no one will see the Lord. You know the saying, no God, no peace, and no God, no peace? K-L-O-W and no. So you can say the same thing about holiness. No holiness, no God. No holiness, no God. No holiness, no God, no peace. Have you ever given some thought about those Pharisees? That always baffled my mind. When they see Jesus tell somebody, stretch out your hand, or open the eyes, or make eyes for somebody, or cast out demons, or heal somebody who's, mute and blind and demon-possessed and all that stuff. And what do they focus on? What's bothering them? They're like oblivious to it. They can't see it. I don't understand that. How can anybody with a half a brain see this and then go, hey, you broke the Sabbath? Or it's Beelzebub. That's how he's doing. Like, these people must be completely psychopathic, mentally ill, or there's like something else going on here. They're totally blind to this. Why is that? I think very simply, it's because they don't see God. They're not pursuing holiness. Pharisees see miracle before their eyes and dismiss them and accuse God of being evil or Sabbath breaker, etc. They were totally blind to Him but could not see Him because they were not holy, because they were not pure in heart. You know the verse very well. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. The opposite is true. Those who are not pure in heart will not see God. That's the only answer I could be able to sleep at night with. They're not pure in heart. They don't pursue holiness. And as we read earlier, we need to pursue holiness in order to be able to see more of God. As I grow in holiness, I will begin to see more of God in more circumstances. Can y'all give me some examples of seeing God in circumstances? Now you can respond. Various kinds of circumstances. No, I'm asking you. Tell me. Yes.
Your lifestyle is success.
Okay, so when things are good, when you success, you can see that God's hand is there somewhere. You know that. I've done it before where I've put in all the effort and got none of the results. Because I don't control the results. So you can see God in that. What else?
You escape a tragic accident and saving my family about the guy who's clothes, say God must have, it's him and stuff.
Has anybody said thank you to the guardian angel out loud? Maybe right there. Priests, driving really fast, those texting and driving and doing all this stuff. It's like, oh, thank you. Again, thank you. What else? Other categories of circumstances, yes.
When you're weak about to sin, and then let's say the phone rings right down, like he is there giving you an out and giving you opportunity.
I hear you. I often felt this like, what is that verse say? Like the snare we were broken, and we were saved. God snatched us out of the mouth of the lion. It's like, thank you. Sorry, but thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
You see, I do like the faith thing and see God's stand to
Allah. One of the things I often advise people to do at the Holy Cross is to make a journal of the milestones in your life. Go back as far as you can remember, write the big events and the date if you can remember it, or the year, and then what God did in the year until you get to the day. Then from now on, whenever something big is happening, write the date and write the situation and wait. And what God does, because when God is involved in our life, we're actually seriously very grateful. We know it's God. But then what? We forget. We're dumb sheep. Sheep are forgetful. Yes.
So you cover you while you still sin.
When He covers you and you're still sinful. I love that. I'm interested. It's interesting. Nobody, like, all you mention is like good stuff. Yes.
I was just listening to a sermon and we were saying as we grow in holiness, you start to see God even in prayers and Bible and like that saying, even small letters might feel different or going different. And
Thank you.
might get something different from it.
Thank you. Jonathan. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
when you see somebody far away from the Lord or to yourself, that they just above.
I love that one. When you see God working, people who are serving with the servants of the lost sheep, and like I prep them, I tell them, guys, listen, this is the least appreciated, least rewarded service. Like we could be working for decades and see nothing of it, and then God does something and we're all like, oh. All right, Jonathan, then Austin, and then Khalas.
The world starts to reject you.
You see God in that circumstance when the world starts to reject you? Hopefully, it's for the right reason.
Because
I'm not joking, like, but hopefully it's for the right reason. Because some people say, like, it's because, God is testing you. Or it's because, la, Habibi, it's because you're a jerk. That's why people don't like you. Austin.
My wife and I are struggling with the Vespers. We both are given the songs are perfectly because
Sweet.
all the songs that they get that had are exactly the song here. To get the RP cut of the song for it. Then
That's awesome. We call that visitations of grace. I call them little love notes from God. I see you. I feel you. Remember how tiny the speck was on that tiny speck of a planet? Okay, one more for Basim, because I'm kind of like...
I was just gonna say when I'm really struggling and low and feel like his absence is really breaking me, I feel like that makes me feel that much more. Because
Thank you.
I realize without his presence how cold I am.
Thank you. As we grow in holiness, we begin to see God in everything. In blessing and successes, y'all mentioned that. I see the hand of God working. In difficulties, I will see that God is aware and God is working, or that God may have caused it or allowed it to happen, but for a good reason. I see God in everything. It's not just interpreting everything as God. No, I see it. There's a difference. In crises or desperate, bleak situations, I will see that He's here. Have you ever been in a crisis and things are really catastrophic, but for some weird reason you feel peace? Hopefully some of us felt that. He's present. He's here. I'm not alone. And I'm hopeful because He sees me. Seeing God in His creation. Oh my gosh, have you ever seen a really close-up of the human eye? It's like the Grand Canyon. Take a look. Google images, or the human kidney, or these really, really deep sea creatures that make lights and colors, and you get to see God in everything. I like this Psalm 139. I was talking with somebody about the last couple of verses in it the other day. Verses 8 to 10 are pretty neat. It says, if I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, behold, you are there. If I take up wings of the dawn, if I dwell in the remotest parts of the sea, even there your hand will lead me, and your right hand will take hold of me. It doesn't matter where I am, or what the condition is, or what the situation is, I'm with Him, and He's with me. I am my beloved's, and He is mine. You could be in a wedding reception with 500 people, and noise and chaos, and just without anybody noticing it, just having an intimate conversation with God. Just sitting there with a smile, but like you're in a different world.
Actually, I want to just one comment. I think the still verse at the beginning were about if I commit sin, where will I go? If I ascend to heaven, He's there. So it's also, you can't hide away from Him.
Yeah. We do need to remember this, not because He's watching so He's going to zap you on your head, but He already sees it. You know, I'm sure you've heard this, like, right? The church fathers say, like, when the enemy tempts us, he takes away our shyness or bashfulness, and then when it's time to go to my Father confession, He brings it back to us. God's already seen it. All right. Seeing more of God, as I get closer to becoming like Elijah and Elisha, I love that because they would always repeat that phrase, Elijah, would say, as the Lord lives before whom I stand. And naturally, as his disciple Elisha, by observing and witnessing and shadowing and learning, he used to do the same thing too. The culmination of the pursuit of holiness, when God determines that I have sincerely, genuinely pursued holiness enough, is to be seeing more of God eternally, being in the presence of God, to see God face to face. I remember one time we were talking with some kids and they're saying, heaven doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun. I was like, why? It's like, this is all we do. It's like, holy, 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 like forever. And the best thing I could think of is I told them that imagine you're going to like the best museum in the world. And every piece is like, oh my gosh. So as soon as you walk in, you go like, oh wow. And you're like staring at it, soaking it in, you know, like taking all that, and like you're just so mesmerized. And then your eye catches something, and so you go, oh wow, that's even better. To me, that's heaven. Holy, holy, holy is us going, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, because God is infinite. And we keep seeing more and more of Him. Holy is the only response we will be able to respond with. Eternally. Makes your head hurt to wrap your brain around this. So the more I see more of God here on earth, as a result of this, I begin to see what? I begin to see more of what? The more I see of God, the more I begin to see more of God. Huh? Speak up, just shout it.
Holiness.
Somebody said that, I heard it back there. Joe, myself. The more I see God, the more I see of myself. Now you tell me, what happens to those who see more of God and then as a result begin to see more of themselves more clearly?
They repent. They begin to see how many sins they have. There's so many, and when they rely on God more based by Himself.
Let's look at the initial response. Look at this, Exodus 3:6. And Moses hid his face because he was afraid to look at God. And he didn't get to see God. He just got to see a little excerpt of a little shadow, of a little hint of God. This is the greatest prophet. The only thing he could do is just hide his face. Go hide on the rock. Ezekiel 1:28. When Ezekiel saw the glory of the Lord, he fell face down. I bet you, if you're ever reading a book about the holiness of God, and are you really focusing, as you read after a couple pages or something, you will not be able to help yourself but put that book down and prostrate. And then get up again and continue to read after some time. What did Peter do after God told him, launch into the deep? And he saw what happened to all the fish. Imagine like God tells you to do something and you get so much that it's just overwhelming. Luke 5:8, he fell at Jesus' knees. He couldn't stand up anymore. Like, it's not just a worship bow. It's like, and I can't act it, but just, he started to get a little glimpse. And he just fell on his knees and said, go away from me. I'm a sinful man. I don't deserve to be in your presence. I'm afraid to be in your presence. When St. John even saw the majesty of the Lord in Revelation, it's interesting. He says, remember how 1 Timothy was telling us that the Lord appeared to him, gave him that revelation on the Lord's day as a nice gift, like as a connection. I see you, I feel you, the visitation, the grace, the love note. But when he saw this, I fell at his feet as though dead. This is the same John the Beloved, the one who used to put his head on his chest, that intimate, that close. The only response hit the deck. So I see more of myself, unfortunately. Now we're going to pause a little bit and slow down on this passage here. This is from, because we need to focus a little bit on it and to soak it in a little bit. I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. This is Isaiah's vision from Isaiah 6, verses 1 to 4. It says, in the year of King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting on the throne. It's so like, I saw the Lord sitting on a throne. So simple. Yeah, that's it. It's, what was it like? Oh, when they presented the Lord with this blind and mute and demon-possessed guy, and he healed him. Yes. I did. High and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Imagine, remember the plans. Just be mindful of this tiny speck that we live in. And somehow we're that special to him. Above it stood seraphim. Each one had 6 wings. And the seraphim, what is the response? Let me say it this way. What is the first thing any angel has to say to anybody when they appear to them?
Not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. Some no-name angel. Well, the one angel, it's a no-name angel, killed all the firstborn of Egypt. A no-name angel killed 185,000 of Sennacherib's army. Now the cherubim and the seraphim, what do? They cover their faces. They cover their feet. And with 2 they fly. And here we are on a regular basis, just standing there, talking to him, partaking of him. And one cried out to another, saying, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. It's interesting how several centuries later it's the same exact thing that what St. John saw is the same thing as what Isaiah saw. Because it is the thing. It is what is happening, what is going on. And the posts of the door were shaken by the voice of him who cried out, by one of them saying this, and the house was filled with smoke. It's very interesting to see that. I mean, what do you think Isaiah's response was?
Woe to me, tell me sick, Brendan.
He hit the deck. He says, woe is me, for I am undone. What, undone? Okay, again, falling apart. Because I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among people of unclean lips. He started to get a glimpse of God, and he saw how none of it is worth to address him or even be in his presence. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. Was Isaiah a righteous, holy man?
Yeah,
Yes, he was. Wake up. I don't want you to sleep. I'm sure that if anybody were to ask God to talk about Isaiah, he would see something like what he said about Job. Blameless, upright man who feared God and shunned evil. Notice that blameless does not mean sinless. Blameless, that means he always tried to live according to God's will. Feared God and shunned evil. And, yes.
I think you didn't say that just by the sheer volume of his book, the amount of dialogue and with God and Jacob on the
Good point. In all the prophecies, I mean, they say Isaiah is the, what did they say? He's the evangelic prophet. It's another gospel. And yet, upon seeing more of God, Isaiah, with all sincerity, calls himself unclean. Where else do we hear that word unclean? Where's the earliest part of the Bible when we hear that word unclean?
Here, to that, in the law.
In the law. In Leviticus. Remember when when somebody has leprosy, God wasn't trying to make them feel bad or embarrass them. That was a law to protect the people from plagues. What did the leper have to do?
Yell unbelief.
First of all, they couldn't get closer than, 30 feet from anybody. Imagine you walk into somebody who's unclean, unclean, and as he's walking in the street, unclean, unclean. What a horrible existence. No wonder they would leave town and go outside. In fact, this is in Leviticus 13:45. God instructs a leper should walk around crying, unclean, unclean. So in fact, after seeing more of the Lord, Isaiah, the blameless and upright man, the prophet of God, who fears God and shuns evil, he calls himself with all assurance, with all confidence, a moral leper. So the more I see God, that's what pursuing holiness is about. The more I see God. And the more I see God, the more I see who I am. Let me ask you something. We'll do another one here real quick. Just play along, okay? So this is the map of the United States, in case if you're not sure. We didn't do good with the geography on the planet thing. Let's say God lives in the farthest corner. I didn't pick location, I just picked the location, okay? But let's say God is there on the farthest northeast corner or whatever of the country. And let's say, think of the worst human being in history. I only picked this because it's diagonally the farthest corner diagonally across. This will be the longest flight in America, probably. Unless you're going to Alaska. Keep the camera on me, don't show where we're showing this. Think of the worst human being ever. History tells us about some of them, some choice ones. Diocletian, I don't know, Hitler, I don't know. We don't have to name names. Now I want you to think of your favorite saint, or really someone you for example, Pope Carolus used to read all the teachings of Mother Isaac the Syrian. I learned that from the Silent Patriarch book. It was amazing. And you begin to see how he didn't just learn them, he lived them verbatim. which is pretty cool. But anyway, think of like, one of your favorite saints. Share with the group your favorite saint.
Saint Reds.
Saint Maximus. Not surprised.
Saint.
Huh? Saint Anthony. That's a common one.
Saint Mary BG.
Good one.
Basil the Great.
Time. Where do you think any one of those people would be on this map here? Where would you place the X or the cross for one of those saints?
Texas.
I like that choice. The Texas right there. Definitely closer than this one. Other choices? Huh?
Very close to
Very close to God. Somewhere in New England here. I guess different ranges, right? Depends. Kind of like that Ascending the Heights thing. Mina's making a face. That's worth exploring. Why are you making a face?
one day movement. See, I was just kept asking what's not. I was going to say California, California, California. Like, yeah.
Look, they work. There. Yes, in California too. So like I'm telling you, see, I wasn't trying anything. Think of the most righteous human being you've ever thought of, your favorite saint. That's where they belong. We don't have an idea. We have no clue. We have no clue what our God is or who our God is. So, the more I see God, the more I get to see myself. I'm going to share with you a nice story. This is a true story. I heard a priest say, it was Abouelkheir, I think Abouelkheir. I heard him say this story maybe 15, 20 years ago. This happened to him before he was a priest, when he was a servant. So one time, this is in Egypt, he was going on a visitation to go to a house. And there was a storm. It was raining. And typically, chances are, I'm not putting anything down, but what do you think happened? What happens in Egypt at night? Especially if there's a storm. Power goes out. Okay? But he could see there was the moonlight and stuff. He knew where to go, so he kept on walking. And then as he was walking, this is a true story, a car passed by, hit a puddle, and splashed him with street water. He was covered. So he pulled out his handkerchief, went kind of by the moon, to get out of the shade and into the moonlight. He saw all the mess and he started cleaning himself out. It took him a half an hour, but he got it all off. And then he said, okay, I'm still, presentable, thank God. By the time I get there, he's walking. I'll be dry and we'll be good to go. So, that's just to show there was still sunlight. So he gets to the house where he's visiting, and of course the people had candles up, right? You get to see a little bit. And as soon as he walked in from the hallway of the building, where there's no candles or anything and no lights, totally dark, and then he walks in where the candles are, they go, hi, Mr. What did they see?
What?
So it's covered in dirt. Why? Because there's more light. He came closer to the light. And now he was definitely not presentable. So what do you think they did? Get some warm soapy water and some towels from the house, and they gave that man a sponge bath with his clothes on. They were he was talking about that, they were scrubbing him here and scrubbing him there until they got him all nice and clean. And then they sat down to start, visiting with each other and talking, reading the Bible and all that good stuff. And then lights came on. Then what?
He left on it.
This is not his picture, this is just an example, but he was covered in dirt. They didn't clean nothing, they just smeared it around. Have you ever been to a room that looked super clean and then a beam of light comes in from the window? What do you see?
That's the
Millions of things flying around. So then, why is one of the end goals of holiness is to see more of myself?
fine.
Because the more I see God, the more I see myself, listen to this, the more I see myself in comparison to God and what God deserves. And then what happens to me? What is my immediate response as I get closer to the light and I really see all the filth? What is my immediate response?
You get discouraged.
Disturbed? Discouraged. There's a spiritual terminology for it. Sam, welcome back. You know what that is called? I become poor in spirit. Does that sound familiar? We know that word? I become poor in spirit. Isaiah 6:5, he said, "Woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among people of unclean lips." He said that with all sincerity, like sure of it. It wasn't just words. You know the beating of the chest thing and the prostrating a lot, and there's a humble stance. You know what I'm talking about? Like some people do this. It's like a little bend of the knee and then a tilt of the neck. Yes, I said it. I did it at certain points. And I can tell you. Some men try to imitate that because they, out of the ignorance of a child, there's somebody who really desires to be that. It's not malicious, but somebody who really desires to be that way.
It's the first blessed of the poor in spirit.
Yes. So they try to imitate that because they want to feel poor in spirit. At least they feel that they should feel poor in spirit. But it is not something we put on. It's only a result of the pursuit of holiness. You cannot make yourself poor in spirit. You cannot say, I'm going to really focus and like contemplate and like examine myself until I feel poor in spirit. It begins with seeing more of God. And that's the only path. So, the pursuit of holiness leads to seeing more of God, seeing more of me, seeing more of who I am compared to who God is and what He deserves. And then to being truly poor in spirit. But being poor in spirit is an awesome thing. Why?
Blessed are those who are poor in spirit.
But theirs is the kingdom.
Thank you. Being poor is awesome because being poor in spirit, God promises, yours is the kingdom of heaven. There's a quote I loved, and I probably bored the people at Holy Cross with too much because I say it in every opportunity I can, which is a quote by one of my favorite people, C.S. Lewis. He says, "We don't know how bad we really are until we try very hard to be good." What does poor in spirit lead to? What is my immediate response to knowing, bless you, how bad I am, even though I am trying very hard to be good? Because I'm trying very hard to be good. Remember what St. Paul said? Well, he said, like, the things I really want to do, I don't do. And the things I really don't want to do, that's exactly what I'm doing. And then what did he say?
Oh, wretched manhood.
Who will rid me of this wretched body of death? He's like so sick of himself. So the natural, organic result of being poor in spirit is what? Think of the last statement that St. Paul said. The immediate, the next thing that's going to come upon you. You shall mourn. Because you're going to see a little bit more of God and a little bit of how awesome He is and what He deserves, and you're going to see how you really want to please Him a little. I'd say, I will not gossip. I'm not going to let this person push my button. I'm not going to yell. I'm not going to lose my mind. And like 30 seconds later. And you see how pitiful I am. So naturally it leads to mourning. The realization that I, as I am not enough is difficult and painful and will lead to sincere mourning. We mourn because of the death of someone, because of the loss of something. So you tell me, whose death and what loss would I be mourning?
Moses.
Huh?
Like,
My death? You're right, but I want to tweak it a little bit. It's the death of the image that I had of me. I'm a good man. I am saintly. The death of me and my big bad self, and the loss of the powerful, glorious image I had of myself. You get to that realization, you can't put on humility. You can't fake it. You get to see who you really are, but be of good cheer. Mourning is awesome. Why?
Blessed are the mourning because they shall be comforted.
Thank you. Blessed are those who mourn because they shall be comforted. You're going to be comforted. The more I see God, the more I see me in comparison with God, the more I feel poor in spirit and the more I mourn. And right away, this is the kind of mourning that God loves to rush into comfort. Not mourning because I didn't get the job, or because of the promotion that didn't happen, or because of a girl that I lost, or because of I lost a bunch of money in the stock market. I don't care about those. But it's that kind of mourning that attracts God to you like attracting a bee to a flower. Ooh, He loves to swoop in and just grab you when you reach that level of mourning. At the times we reach that level of mourning. The mourning of wanting so much to be godly and Christ-like, so I can be pleasing to this amazing God. So I mourn. So God rushes in to comfort me. And what does this lead to? Of how lousy I am and how He rushes in to comfort. Even though I keep betraying Him, I keep stabbing Him, I crucify Him. What does this lead to? Before joy,
you don't.
right on, meekness. I grow in sincere humility. Because I see what I really am and what I truly deserve, and I see how God still loves on me just the same. Question. When does God see your sins?
Oh, you're going. Go ahead. Before goodness.
I heard all the time, and then what?
Or you do them.
Immediately as you do them, before you do them. Okay, interesting. Yes. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
But when they're at the door.
He sees them when they're not repented for, okay? Kareem.
I think the idea when for God is not free.
Did y'all hear him? No, he's not saying it is an inappropriate question to ask for. No, he's saying the idea of when for God, it is not applicable. And exactly, God saw your sins before He created the universe. Because He's above time. Let that soak in for a minute. He saw every ugly, nasty, bad thing I've done before He even created me. Before He even created you. And yet, He still chose to create you. Because he wants you in spite of you. Because he loves you. With a love that we will never fathom. As you begin to comprehend God's grace towards you, oh, before I forget, I want to show you something that I want you to remember. There's nothing you can do that can make God love you less. Those of us who grew up a little bit in Egypt, we received all kinds of child abuse, spiritually speaking, because when we do something wrong, they tell you what? ربنا هيزعل منك. God will be upset with you. So theologically wrong and destructive. But thank God we grow up and we learn the rights. There's nothing you can do that can make God love you less. Think about that. When you get those thoughts like, I don't deserve to stand up and pray. I don't deserve to go to church. I don't deserve to take communion. Yeah, you don't. You don't deserve to even exist. We know what we deserve. Because we know what the wage of sin is. But there's nothing you can do that can make God love you less. And there's nothing you can do that can make God love you more. You will not win favor with God by doing something. Kind of sucks a little bit because you're like, man, I've been doing all this. And so as you begin to comprehend God's grace towards you and you grow in meekness, and as you grow in meekness and you start treating others like how God treats you, with grace, with humility, with mercy, not as they deserve, people begin to love you, regardless of their backgrounds. They see that and they begin to love you. Or more appropriately, they begin to love God in you. So meekness is awesome because you're getting where we're heading here. Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth. There's people there that you feel comfortable around them. You feel peaceful around them. You like to be in their presence, even if you don't talk. And as you begin to see how God's way is the way, and how when you work hard and walk with God, everything eventually works out just fine. And no matter what happens, it's all good. By the way, that phrase, it's all good, that's Romans 8:28, just in case you're not sure. God causes all things to work for the good of those who love Him. It's all good. That's biblical. What happens when you realize this? What's your next? Take a wild guess. What's your next response?
You realize what? You're
Capsized.
When you get to taste all of the above that we talked about, that you get to see that when you work hard and when you walk with God, everything works out well. Everything is just fine. No matter what happens, if it's good, bad, or ugly, life is just amazing with God. It's being in heaven with God. Then what happens to you? What's your next desire? Thank you. You hunger and thirst for more. Come on, you should know by now, like where I'm heading here.
Ladies, watch me sing about it.
This is something annoying and awesome at the same time. The closer you get to God, the farther you feel you are from Him. That drives me bonkers. You know, I kind of worry when a guy comes to me and he says, I'm a good guy. Like, I don't really try to hurt anybody. You know, I just do my thing. It's like, he doesn't know how bad he is. What does that mean? He's not pursuing holiness. We got to work it out for us. Because as soon as he starts pursuing holiness, he begins to see more of God. He begins to see more of himself compared to God. He begins to mourn. And then he begins to... Exactly. When done right, the pursuit of holiness is like a fire. What do I mean by this? What do we know about a fire?
Right.
Okay. The more you feed a fire, the hungrier it gets. It's hard to understand, but you know what I mean. The same thing. Exodus 33, 13, 18. Now, this is crazy. Look, Moses, the arch-prophet, after seeing the burning bush, after seeing the signs, like, for your staff, pick up your staffs, all this stuff. After going to Egypt, going through all the 10 plagues, and then he does this, and then the plague's gone. After seeing the Red Sea and everything. Water from the ark, the cloud, the pillar, and all that stuff. This is in Exodus 33, 13 to 18. I was like, when I was reading this, like, Moses, come on, you're so greedy, man. Like, seriously? It says, now therefore, I pray, if I have found grace in your sight, show me now your way, that I may know you. Show me your way, eh? Are you serious? But look at the words, the hunger, the thirst. That I may find grace in your sight. Please show me your glory. You can't let you hunger and thirst for more. That's your desire. You're hooked. What is the fentanyl? What is the some other level? There's something now that's 10 times as strong, they say. The closer you get to God, the closer you want to get to God. The hungrier you get for righteousness. Which is awesome, because blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, but they shall be filled. He's not going to leave you hungry. He's not going to disappoint you. If you're sincere and you stick with it and you keep going after it. You get the picture, right? The more I seek righteousness and God has mercy on me and chisels away at my unrighteousness, the more I myself become what? Merciful. You know the parable of the unforgiving servant in Matthew 18? The story goes like he owned a king with the master 10,000 talents, which is the equivalent of like, I think $30 billion now. He would have had to work, when he told him, have mercy on me, I'll pay it back. He would have had to work 250 lives back to back and giving all his wages without, 100% of his wages to this master in order to pay it back. There's no way he could pay anything back. And of course, the king, the master, says, forgive us, let go. And then he goes out and he sees his buddy who owes him like $50 or whatever, a couple $100, and he throws him in prison. And it says that his fellow servants grieved. Who are the fellow servants? In our life today. The angels. And the people who see it, because I could do this like just between us, one-on-one. Remember, it said, be careful what you do, because every one of those people has an angel who goes and reports. Look at this. Then his master, after he called him, said to him, you wicked servant. He's not like releasing like wrath on him. He's just calling what he is. You wicked servant. I forgave you all the debt because you begged me. And his buddy told him the same phrase, have mercy on me and I will pay you back. Should you not also have compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you? Unless a person is a really big jerk, when they receive mercy, they can't help but become more merciful to others. This is the natural law. When my debts are forgiven, I too should more readily forgive. When I receive mercy, I too should increase in mercy. So, this is exactly what happened. Because, and of course, blessed are the merciful, for they should obtain mercy. This is what happened with the repentant woman in Luke 7:4-7. Can we please stop calling her the repentant woman instead of the sinful woman? Why are we so like, I don't like that. That's how we remember her? Anyway, this is how we remember the story. Therefore I say to you, our Lord is telling Simon the Pharisee, her sins, which are many, yes, she's got a ton, a truckload, are forgiven. Why? For she loved much. But to whom little is forgiven, the same loves little. Simon the Pharisee was not merciful. Why? Why? Because he did not feel that he received mercy. Why? Because he did not feel poor in spirit. Because he was not pursuing holiness. So he hasn't tasted receiving mercy. That repentant woman in Luke 7:47 wasn't just washing the Lord's feet with her tears of repentance. She was like washing her own eyes and purifying them, purifying her own soul, washing her inner eyes. She was increasing in purity. The one who defiled herself and so many others was increasing with purity like St. Mary of Egypt. After being a prostitute, after becoming a laborer in defilement, she became a laborer in purity. And that's why, as the person sees how much mercy they are receiving, they increase in being merciful and they increase in...
Good.
Here we go. I assume now you know we're getting close to being done. All right, I'll hurry. And when I increase in purity, what happens? It is awesome. Because, wait a minute. Did we just enter an infinite loop? Blessed are the poor in spirit, for they shall see God. I'd like to throw a word in there, but I'm not going to blaspheme. But I think it would maybe make more sense to me if I said, for they shall see more of God. Remember what the first end goal of the pursuit of holiness was? Seeing more of God. Which led to the end goal 2, and then goal 3, and goal 4, and goal 5, and goal 6. And then it leads to more of the same goal, which is seeing more of God everywhere, as we said, in all situations, in all circumstances, in all creation. You can't not see God, which is awesome.
I was like, hold on, Zacchaeus, his name is Zacchaeus, which was pure. And it's a proxy that he got to see God.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so what's the lot of pure?
Cool. Did y'all hear that? That Zacchaeus, Zakha means pure. And he got to see God. Ismail Muslim. Right name. What do you do when you read a good book? Or see a great movie? Or eat at a good restaurant? Or find a great deal? What is the first thing you do? Leave a Google review. Okay, after you've left the Google review. That's nice of you, because usually people leave reviews when they're upset. Huh? Somebody said it. Yes. You can't help but tell someone. You can't not tell someone, especially, and the more you care about this person, these will be the people you tell about the first, right? You gotta check this out. Likewise, the more you taste and see how sweet the Lord is, the more merciful and pure you become, and the more you want others to taste and see how sweet the Lord is too. And what is that? What is inviting others to taste and see how sweet the Lord is? Evangelism. And what is evangelism? Peacemaking. Which is awesome. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Whenever you evangelize, you share and spread our Lord Jesus Christ with others. You are sowing and sharing and spreading the King of Peace. Talk about peacemakers. Peacemaking isn't just breaking fights. You see some guys try to evangelize at work or with their neighbors or whenever, like whatever environment they're in, but they don't realize why it's not working. Why are people not really always responding like they'd hoped for? Why do you think this happens? Something ain't right, because it should happen. Question for you. Are you walking the walk before talking the talk? If you weren't wearing a cross necklace or have a cross tattoo or have a Jesus fish on your car or whatever, would people at work or in your circles, would they know, if you never told them you were Christian, would they know you were Christian by just observing you? I want you to ask yourself that. Or would you just be another Joe, just another person? So they need to see that. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean that. Another John Doe. No pun. Remember this quote, please. They don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Are you living that life? Is anybody come and ask you, like, what is the reason for the hope that you have in you? Like, what's wrong with you? You're weird in a good way, but you're weird. Now, when in this world we live in today, when you truly start living like a Christian man in this world that we live in today, what might happen also?
And persecute.
The Bill's got me figured out. Persecution. Remember the Lord said, nobody who gives father, mother, son, children, land, whatever, and does not take 100-fold here on earth and in heaven with tribulations or persecutions. So heads up. We need to, like, telling you the truth here. We're telling you everything ahead of time. Obviously, this is not an end goal of the pursuit of holiness, but it is indeed a very likely, very possible result of the pursuit of holiness. And the fear of loss, fear of persecution, of some sort of loss of fun or loss of freedom or loss of a promotion or loss of a friendship or loss of sleep or loss of energy, that's why some men do not pursue holiness. Look at this, John 15, 18 to 20. If the world hates you, does that sound familiar? I didn't talk with any of the speakers about what we're going to talk about. If the world hates you, you know that it hated me before it hated you. If you were of the world would love its own. Yet because you are not of the world, but I chose you out of the world, therefore the world hates you. Remember the word that I said to you, a servant is not greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will also persecute you. I remember one time I was reading in Luke and it kind of shocked me because I was like, is this a typo? Remember that verse that says, woe to you if everybody likes you or something like that, or if everyone speaks well of you. To me, that's politicians, like trying to please everybody. But being persecuted is awesome. Why? Oh, here we go. Now we get it. So the end goal of the pursuit of holiness is not persecution, but rather the kingdom of heaven. Notice that from the first of the Beatitudes, the reward was the kingdom of heaven. And after you go all the stuff, the end reward is the kingdom of heaven, because it's kind of like holding the end of a rope that goes all the way to heaven. That's it. You got your hand on this rope. All you have to do now is start pulling on that rope to pull yourself up towards God. And if you're too exhausted to pull, it's okay. Just hold on. Don't let go, because you never pull yourself all the way over there. But if you're holding on, by the time your last breath comes, God will pull the rope up and take you where you need to be. That's why the first one is theirs is the kingdom of heaven, and the last one is theirs is the kingdom of heaven. If we just stick with it, which is the end goal. So, seeing more of God means seeing more of myself, That's the natural organic consequence of the pursuit of holiness. It means growing in virtues, means growing in meekness and humility, means increasing in love, means doing more of the right things right. Means a bigger hunger for holiness. If you read in Mark 10 about the young rich ruler, that's another person that I feel is like, why do people say this about him? And so, look how much he loved money. I love this man. He was a ruler, but very rich and stuff. And it says he ran to the Lord like a kid. And he knelt down before him. And he asked in front of everybody, what must I do? When the Lord told him keep the commandments, what did he say? I've kept them all from my youth. What did the Lord say? Let you cash. Come on, don't tell the truth. What do you mean you kept them all from your youth? No. He told him what? One thing you lack. Oh my gosh. I wish God would tell me one thing you lack. That'd be pretty awesome. Why did this man, like, he didn't care what the people think. He's like, what is it that I lack? Tell me. What, people say, look how he left sad. Actually, the fact that he left sad means what? He's sincere. Now he's got a big challenge to face. Now he's like, oh my gosh, look, I worked so hard for this. Like, I don't want to give it up. We don't know what the end of the story is. Something we need to keep in mind, I'll share this with you. So back when we were in high school and we would go to the mall with my homies, and typically in the malls there's two escalators, one going up and one coming down. And as high school boys, when we're going to go up, which escalator we're going to take? Down. Very good. See, y'all went to high school too. Yes, we would take the one coming down. There's something, I'm telling you, there's like a spiritual lesson in everything. In order to go up, you have to run up, right? If you go up at the same pace that the escalator is going down, what are you doing? You're just in place. You're spinning your wheels. You're exhausted and you know why. What's happening? Why am I going forward? If you take a chill pill and you rest, what's happening? You're going down. In order to go up, you have to be running up at a rate faster than the world is running down. There's no middle of the line. So, just to recap, we're done. The end goal of the pursuit of holiness is I get to see more of God. And that's the beginning of the beautiful journey. The more I get to see God, the more I get to see myself, the more I get to see myself in comparison with who God is and what He deserves, and I become poor in spirit, but in a good way, not faint-heartedness. I begin to grow in meekness and humility. I begin to hunger for more. And the more I get this, the more I hunger. The more that this is the thing I think about, that I'm looking forward to go to. The more I become merciful. The more I grow in purity, and the more I become a peacemaker and evangelize and spread people to taste and see how sweet the Lord is. I become an evangelist. Even if I'm persecuted, I can't help it. Like what St. Peter and St. John told them after they beat him up because they healed the paralyzed man in Acts 4 or 5. They told, we cannot help but speak. You can do whatever you want. And of course, the kingdom of heaven, which is seeing more of God saying, oh wow, oh wow, oh wow, for eternity. I hope moving forward that every time you attend the liturgy and you hear a deacon or you are praying Matthew 5 in the 6th hour, that you'll remember this. The pursuit of holiness and seeing more of God. May God help us all to always have that goal of the pursuit of holiness always before us. Glory be to God forever and ever. Amen. Questions, comments, concerns, compliments? Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.